talk a little bit about hard drive performance tiers. Hard drive performance tiers are basically ways that you can use hard disk drives to increase the performance of your Azure virtual machines, right? So the performance of your Azure managed disk is set when you create your disk and when you set and create your virtual machine. Your performance tier depends on the number of input, output, read writes that your managed disk has. And that's the big thing to remember on this one, is that when you're provisioning the size of your disk, the performance tier is automatically selected. You're kind of stuck with what they give you, but what they give you is pretty neat. The performance tier, however, can be changed at deployment or afterwards. And you don't have to change the size of the disk or anything, but you can move between standard and premium. And you can go ahead and do those other things along the way, including increasing the size of the disk to kind of help you get to where you need to go in terms of performance. So there's two types of durable storage right now, and that's premium and standard. Premium storage stores data of the latest solid state drives, so SSDs. So that's one thing to remember. SSDs are those little chips you find in your cameras. They're what you find in your phones. That's basically really super quick, really fast kind of storage. Standard storage uses regular old hard drives. If you've seen those, you know what they look like. They're a little bit slower than SSDs, but you're not really going to notice the difference if you're just running a regular website. One of the things that they talk about, though, on these performance tiers is you probably don't need to know the detail on this. You just need to know some of the minimums and maximums. So baseline performance P1 through P50 can basically be upgraded from where they're at to P50. P50 is basically the upper limit for P1 through P40 and P50. If you need to get higher input output reads and writes, you have to start at P60 and you can only go to P80, right? And these are like wickedly fast speeds for hard drives, and it's going to be something that you're going to be going into 60, 70, and 80 if you're running a high performance computing cluster, or if you've got something else that's going on that route. You're doing some protein folding, maybe some SETI at home or something like that, if SETI at home still exists. But again, P1 through P50 is probably where most everyone's going to be, and you can upgrade each step for those all the way up to a maximum P50. And then after that, you have to start at P60 to get some incremental upgrades. So what is the standard tier? On the standard tier, the performance of a hard disk drive depends on the proximity of the data to the read-write heads. And that's a big one. So you can have data spread all over the place, and you end up having to work your way through all that. And most people won't even notice. The premium tier is premium block storage accounts that make data available via high performance hardware. And again, solid state drives, they're optimized for low latency, and you get this crazy wicked fast higher throughput compared to traditional hard drives used in the standard tier. So again, premium solid state drives, which you find in your phones, and then regular tier, standard tier is regular old hard drives. So provisioning, this is kind of neat because you can actually move things around. When you first deploy or provision a disk, the baseline performance tier is set on the size, right? You're okay. That's all you need to do is just figure out what size of disk you need, and then you can go ahead and provision your baseline performance tier. You can change that performance tier over the original thing you chose depending on what you need later on. So you can move these things around. So when you no longer need that higher performance level, you can return to the additional. So if you start off at P10 and all of a sudden you find you need to bounce up to P30 for, like, say, shopping or something special going on, some event, and then you can go back to P10 when that event is over with, and that's something you can take care of and work the whole process on that one. So there are some restrictions, though. Premium is currently only supported on SSDs, so you can't get premium on a hard drive. You have to get it on an SSD. The P60, P70, and P80 performance tiers can only be used on disks that are larger than 4 terabits or 4,096 gigabits. So you're dealing with a lot of data. You're already dealing with a data set. So odds are highly likely the average company or average person will not use a P60, P70, or P80 unless you're doing something neat, again, like protein folding or something else. A disk performance tier can be downgraded only every 12 hours. So if you're at P10 and you bounce up to P40, it's going to take you 3 steps down, so 12, 24, 36 hours to get back to P10, all right, unless you just go ahead and move all the way down. So you can step it down as you need to, or you can just bounce up and then bounce back. It's up to you, but that 12-hour limit you just need to know about. The system does not return performance tier for disks created before June 2020. So if you're still working on systems you designed back before June 2020, you have to basically update all your stuff to make sure that you can take advantage of the performance tier. And that's not a bad thing. You should always go back and review and take advantage of new things that the cloud is rolling out, because the pace of innovation in the cloud is an everyday thing. And if you really do just kind of want to eke out that little extra bit of performance, using stuff that at the time of the recording of this video is over a year old is something that you do want to go back and review. So again, in summary, the key difference here is that Premium uses solid state drives and Standard uses regular old hard drives. That's your big one. Prices vary depending on the performance that you need, and you can move those around. You can provision initially for Standard and then move to Premium if you need more performance. You can also downgrade back to Standard when needed, and you can downgrade steps from P1 to P50, back to P1, and so on, depending on what you've got. You only need to know for this test that there are two tiers, Standard and Premium, and how they can be used. And basically that you have two tiers, Standard and Premium, and that one is solid state drive for Premium and the other one is regular old hard drives for Standard. You may not even get asked anything on this. This is kind of one of those, I've seen a few practice tests that have this question, and we'll find out if you actually do need it or not. And that is the end of this lecture. Thank you very much, and I will see you in the next lecture.